So today we will continue with what we last stopped at. We were talking about the 1960s, the Indian advertisements or Indianness or everyday nationalism as it is situated by the products that we are using and endorsing on everyday basis. So the last we stopped with the age of 60s, where we saw that it was a a point where there was a lot of stagnation in that time, and the only hope was our Prime Minister asking Dr. Kurian to replicate the Amul model in the whole of the country. So that again was quite relevant. And the other saving grace for the economy was the Green Revolution, but it did not contribute much to the Indian advertising. Therefore, we did not discuss it further. Now today again we will talk about 70s, what happened or what kind of advertisements came in the 70s. So we see the exit of Coca-Cola in the 70s, which is very remarkable. Now what was happening with the exit of Coca-Cola, or it is also said, was it the exile due to George Fernandez, and George Fernandez was at that time cabinet minister. And what happened at that time, that you know Coca-Cola's Coca-Cola company actually marketed themselves as a technology company because they were making the syrup. So they claimed themselves to be the technology company who was making syrups, and then they were asked to give stakes to other bodies as well, which they did not agree to, and even the forex charges was way too much for India to handle. Because what was happening, when they were making a profit in India, they were taking that money and giving it to their master company, right, which was there in the US. They were not reinvesting in India. So India was not making much out of it, and therefore we see the exit of Coca-Cola. They were not, making to the rules and regulations of the RBI. So that is one of the reason. But what significant role did George Fernandez play at that time is significant. So he said that India is coming with a subsidiary in a way, or a replacement of Coca-Cola called 777. And since it will take over the market, so we actually might not need Coca-Cola, because anyways it was not a good investment or not good for the Indian economy of that time. Then we saw the mass communication managements to taking over marketing, people taking over or exiting from companies and coming up with new agencies. So they basically it started in the 1970s. And then another thing remarkable happened in 1970s was the batch of 1977, the advertising batch of 1977 MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. They became like an acronym for the advertisement industry, and they got distributed among the top agencies, the advertising agencies, and almost changed uh, the the face of advertisement. And then two people from IIM Ahmedabad, that is Professor Sengupta and Professor Mote, developed something called Lincompac, and it was a computer aided media planning tool. So in a way, one step ahead in what we see in advertisement in India today happened in the 1970s. And then soap, especially Liril, it kind of became a symbol to liberation. Now how? So they showed in the ad that a woman who is a homemaker, uh, you know, uh, attends to everyone in the house, to every single small chore in the house, and then the only time that she gets is while she's bathing. And Liril gives them that liberation. That time frame is signified with liberation to the Indian housewives, and therefore it became very significant how Indian wives, or Indian women, were associated with liberation through Liril. So this is how they marketed their product among especially women. Then we see this age to where we see more of color magazines coming up in this era. And this again, colored magazine were more of a gimmick for the high class people, high society people, where they had these glossy pages smelling really nice, and foreign brand advertisement on these magazines, these colorful magazines. Vimal and Sukumar became the textile giants at this time, and since Vimal was advertising for women, Sukumar was advertising for men. So any ad that we would see in TV or in newspaper, it was only Vimal. So Vimal and Sukumar. Vimal for saris that women were wearing, and shirting and suitings for S. Kumar. And another thing that happened in this decade was the Ad Asia kind of a conference or conclave, one can say, which was the Congress curtain raiser, titled Advertising Communications and Progress, a Review. So it happened in New Delhi, India, in that year, in that decade, and it gave kind of visuality to the Indian advertisement, because amongst all Asian nations it is being held, and the seventh one in India. So the consumer market in India is really very important when it comes to advertisements. Now we have the 80s and the 90s. Now what happened in the 80s and the 90s? We see the coming of Doordarshan. And on 15th August 1988, they premiered a short video on Independence Day, the Torch of Freedom. They called it the Torch of Freedom, and they invited the celebrated sports persons, and they were handling over the torch from one person to another. And while they were moving the torch from one person to another, the song, which is the national anthem, music track was played, okay, and it kind of drew a lot of attention. At the same time, it stirred the idea of nationalism with this particular torch of freedom. So in a way, they were trying to instill the idea of nationalism, national integrity, more of national integrity, unity through this ad that Doordarshan played. And another song, very important and very famous, again talking about Indian integrity, promoting Indian integrity, was Mile Sur Mera Tumhara, which was composed by Ashok Patki and arranged by Louis Banks, and the lyrics were by Piyush Pandey. And this song also brought in a lot of known faces, from celebrities to cricketers to other important people from the from other fields of celebrated fields. And this song again became very prominent, and it was played in Doordarshan every now and then. The national sentiment also rode high on Bajaj scooter, which was called Hamara Bajaj, a very known, renowned Indian grown brand. With this, people again associated themselves, or associated whenever they bought the scooter and they are riding it, they rode with this passion and compassion towards the nation, calling it Hamara Bajaj, like it is very Indianized in a way. It also talks about the relationship, one ad where a son is riding with the father. So the kind of happiness he has, and the kind of relationship between these two individuals are portrayed is quite remarkable. The love of the father towards the kid in a way. Now the most famous ones were what we call as Incredible India campaign. Now here India is promoting tourism, and within India also, in a way, people from other parts of India can go and travel to another part of India. And it was indeed something called out of box creativity. So two examples we have. One is where they are promoting Bengal, and there is a jungle, sort of a jungle, it's more like a shrubby, maybe parts of Sundarban, and then there is a small monument kind of a thing which is almost depleting, and a tiger is seen there, and it says, the title says, not all Indians are polite, hospitable and vegetarian. So that is how they are promoting Bengal in that ad of Incredible India. And then the other example we have, watch the camel race, escape the rat race. Now this is very interesting. It is promoting Rajasthan tourism, where you see the camel race and all, but at the same time they are telling you that take out some time for yourself and escape from the rat race that you are into. And there was another one basically promoting Gujarat, and it said the salt of marsh. So how it is situating the Dandi march with the salt of marsh in the context of Gujarat tourism. And then came liberalization, which paved way for foreign companies in the Indian market. Now, this also led to a lot of happiness at the cost of sadness as well. Now people were happy that they will now get to buy foreign brands, but at the same time the businessmen were not basically very happy, because the competition will grow now. So that is another reason that we witness in advertisement industry in the 90s. And then we have 2000s, very remarkable and important as well. With the advancement of internet, we see a lot of changes developing in the kind of advertisements that came up until 1990s, and suddenly we see 2000, also called as Y2K, and the ad world changing significantly. Now we see in social media we have paid partnerships. Each individual is creating their own, drawing from their niche and kind of making advertisements around it and promoting the brand. So it is very unique in a way to see. AdCat has said that the Indian advertising industry is less than 1% of the Indian GDP. Now, very remarkable to note, since it's not like even 1%, everywhere that we see, even in hoardings or in the walls, or whenever we open our phone, we just see the advertisements. Ads are everywhere. You open a page in Google or in any other or maybe it is Bing, you just are welcomed by advertisements. So you see how the strategy of marketing or advertising has become tenfolds. Now, launch of Tata Nano, again we are coming back to what we called as Indianness, or how they are promoting Indianness or everyday nationalism in a way. So Tata Nano was launched, and it was, the slogan read, was seen as a symbol of modern India and homegrown engineering. Now it is promoting again two things, one Indianness and the other the modern India, the concept of modern India. So what is this concept of modernity or modern India, and how are they relating it or calling it a symbol of modern India? Because now it is becoming affordable for Indians to have a car. It was quite a budgeted car. It did not do well, that's a different story, but it was quite a, it kind of thought that it will bring in a revolution. And it's also, since it is from the Tata company, it again talks about homegrown engineering. Tata Tea campaigning election became a very important aspect. India is now the largest democracy in the world, and whenever there is election, these companies or these brands come with very interesting takes on the election, on voting, especially voting being one of the constitutional rights. And then we have example one of this Tata Tea campaign. So a boy who has already voted, and there is this dark kind of an ink which they put when you vote, and he comes with that and he's trying to wake everyone up, and there's this girl who is very agitated and says that, why are you waking me up? I'm already like, why are you trying to wake me up, or saying that I'm sleeping? I'm already awake. So he says that on voting day, if you are not voting, you are sleeping. So in a way, it is the other subtitle or title of this was Jagore. So it is in a way telling you to get up off your sleep. So sleep doesn't mean that you have to lie down on bed, but in a way, if you are not voting, you are sleeping. And the second one of Tata Tea was on corruption. So it became a huge kind of a campaign of Tata Tea on these social issues and also political issues of the country. Now, we saw the decade of India rising and India shining. India went on to many world platforms and stages where India was appreciated for the kind of infrastructure that it came up with, because India became a center for IT, and that was again one of the aspects where we see the India rising and India shining. In later of the campaigns of Times of India, we see when they are kind of talking about lead India, we have people like Amitabh Bachchan and Shah Rukh Khan in those ads where they are demonstrating, and on the background we see the infrastructure coming up very well. So in a way, India was shining and also rising at the same time. Now another very important ad that came out was Tum Chalo To Hindustan Chale, again by JWT, which again had Amitabh Bachchan in this ad, and it was in search for tomorrow's leader. So Times of India group was looking for who will be the leaders of tomorrow, and this campaign was ran, and it was almost a national movement that came through these ads of Times of India, which was very incredible, made by JWTs. Another one we see by Times of India was a day in the life of an Indian, day in the life of India. So what they did with this campaign, they wanted to show what happens in India, and therefore they told people to participate willingly and record their video as to what they do in a day and share it with them. So in a way, they managed to garner attention from its viewers, also its readers, as to how or what happens in India each day. So in a way, they are also telling about everyday nationalism as an Indian, what people do on a daily basis. A very thoughtful way to put this out about Indianness and everyday nationalism. Now, internet and ads. Now, internet changed everything for India. I think it changed everything for everyone across the globe, but basically for India, how people used to see advertisements, and how with the revolution of internet and high speed internet, it has changed even more. Nowadays, if you don't want to see an ad, you need to pay. So that is the concept that has come, especially in YouTube. If people are making money out of their YouTube channels, they'll have these advertisements. And there is another thing with YouTube is there is a subscription based where you don't see ads anywhere in any of the videos when you play. So you have to pay for it. So again, it's a very gimmicky thing, a very layer of meanings could be found in this way of subscribing something to not watch ads. Now, internet and ads. Teach India campaign by Times of India. Citizens were invited to volunteer, and it was called Let's Learn to Teach, which came in 2008. Now, Times of India group, again we saw in this era, has done a lot and came up with many other campaigns in and around national movement. And then we had the India Digitized. Digital India came up in 2015, launched by Prime Minister, and their agenda was to connect the rural with the whole of India. So that was the idea behind Digital India. And in post 2000, we see the agencies move to using digital methods to create ads, and even instead of handmade illustrations, we see people using Adobe, then we have Photoshop, Illustrators, and other apps also using to draw. Unlike Amul, utterly butterly, that girl which is still hand drawn. Then we see that the social networks and the unadvertising, They interacted and engaged with brands, and Facebook merely is now has become a platform for advertisements. Twitter, we still see that a lot of discussion, debate, discourse, rhetoric happening, but again with lot of what we call as advertisements. Of course, YouTube, as I told you, now if you are willing to pay and not see any ad, you need to subscribe to that sort of subscription. Then there are polls, which which product to use, this one or that one, which suits better. Those kind of polls have emerged because of this social networking thing. And then there are fans who are the ones who are giving reply. If one brand is making fun of the other brand or a product of the other product, the fan intervenes and they try to defend that product. So that again is something new which was not happening before. And friends and followers, these are the people. So if one person is a influencer, the friends and the followers will ultimately endorse to that brand. So you see how branding or internet and ads have changed and evolved through time. Now, two very important Indian ads, very much catering to the Indian sentiment, and it has also in a way made it global. So one of the ads has made India global, that is called Little Maharaja. So in Ad Katha, the book, it comes under the title Picture Abhi Baki Hai, and it says that the Little Maharaja that we see in the Air India plane, the mascot, is very interesting, and it has come from it has this Parsi kind of image. And then we saw some sort of outcry from the Parsi community because of the image, first drawn in 1939. Now, the Maharaja poster came around that time. It took a shift. So, if the Maharaja, the little Maharaja has also evolved. So, we now see that he is joining his hands with eyes a bit closed, little open and bending to, welcome people. So, that is the image of this mascot that we see today. In 1946, he first took the form that is recognized till today. So, the form that we see today, other than the changes in color, and it is similar to how the little girl in Utterly Butterly, changes its dialogue or the quotations or slogans to the kind of events that are happening. Similarly, Maharaja also did the same thing. So, wherever the flights used to go, Maharaja, kind of tried to imbibe that culture within. So, there are many cartoons available of little Maharaja, showing him in Hawaii, showing him in Thailand, showing him in Australia. So, in other parts of the world, how Maharaja has, dressed himself. And so, Bobby Kuka was the creative director who actually endorsed this idea of making him the mascot of Air India. And then 1950s, the little Maharaja had acquired all the elements of its final form, from starting to 1939, getting modified by 1946, finally taking the last shape in 1950. Now coming to Utterly Butterly Amul. Utterly Butterly Amul still, other than being in visual media, people like it in print media. So, this billboard also in a way started with Utterly Butterly Amul, and it is the longest running campaign in a way what we can possibly tell about Utterly Butterly Amul. So, we know that the inception happened with Dr. Kurian, and from there came in the creative directors or the creative artist who actually created this girl. And how this slogan Utterly Butterly Amul came is a very interesting story. So, Sylvester da Cunha and his wife were sitting on one evening having tea, and suddenly it interrupted, and it's like Utterly Butterly Amul. So, they added another term to it called utterly, and then it became Utterly Butterly Amul. And it is, as I mentioned, the longest running campaign. It also in a way saw the the launching of this little girl, and this little girl with, was a moped, okay, and that ponytail of hers was launched in 1966 by, and the creator of the face was Eustace Fernandez. He was the ASP art director of Amul, and it was his idea to launch this little girl with a ponytail and a, kind of a small dress that she always wear. And even till now we see the journey of Amul through this ad. And very interestingly, Amul has situated itself in every event that is happening around. So whether it is a sport, whether it is voting, whether it is some international acclaim that, that people have received, around everything Amul comes up with a very uh, cheeky or very nice slogan, as we remember. Now, one was during the Hare Krishna movement as an example. So, during the height of this, what we call as Hare Krishna movement, the title came Hari Amul, Butter Amul, Hari Hari. So, that was the slogan that ran during this time of Hare Krishna movement. With that, we conclude Indianness and what we call as everyday nationalism. Now, there are many ads in this category that could be included, but we have to, in a way understand what Indianness meant or what everyday nationalism meant, and therefore many ads could not be included for discussion. But to name a few, there was Tata's salt, salt, and the ad said Desh Ka Namak. So again, it is associating itself with Indianness. And then we have it elongated, and you can understand it in the sense that you are using salt, uh, in your food every day. So it's like Desh Ka Namak, okay, you are eating salt. And again, if you try to draw meaning out of it, we generally associate, there's a, a saying in Hindi, uh, when you eat someone's salt, you need to be loyal to that person. So if you are bringing out that idea from the idea of Tata salt, it is very remarkable that you are eating India's salt in a way that you have to be loyal to India, okay. So that is the meaning that can be deciphered from this ad. Now, Tata has, in various other categories as well, has remarkably placed Indianness in the ads. For example, as we saw the Jagore campaign, talking about voting, and also it is associating the infrastructure development of India. It is kind of a base for India, steel, as in how solid it can be, protector of the nation. That is also one of the ad campaigns of Tata, from starting from a big infrastructure company to the salt in everyday level that we are doing. So that was the power of advertisement coming from Tata Group.